Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, Text 35, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. The verse is written here. I suggest that the board is turned a little so it can be seen more easily. Yeah. Yasya. Yal. No, sorry. Yat. Lakshanam Proktam Pungsaha Varna Abhivyanjakam Yat Anyatra Api Drishyeta Tat Tena Eva Vinirdishet Yasya Yalakshanam Proktam Pungso Varna Bhivyanjakam Yadanyatrapi Drishyeta Tattenaiva Vinirdishet Yasya Yalakshanam Proktam Pungso Varna Bhivyanjakam Yad Anyatrapi Drishyeta Tattenaiva Vinirdishet Yasya Yalakshanam Proktam Pungso Varna Bhivyanjakam Yadanyatrapi Drishyeta Tattenaiva Vinirdishet. Samana? Yasya Yalakshanam Proktam Pungso Varna Bhivyanjakam Yadanyatra Pitrusheta Tattenaiva Vinirdishet. Yasya, of whom, Yat, which, Lakshanam, symptom, Proktam, described, above, Pungsaha, of a person, Varna, Abhivyanjakam, indicating the classification, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, etc. Yat, if, Anyatra, elsewhere, Api, also, Drishyeta, is seen, Tat, that, Tena, by that symptom, Eva, certainly, Vinirdishet, one should designate. Pain in your knee? You can sit up and then for the yagya come back again. Purport. Translation, verse translation. If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification. Purport. Herein it is clearly stated by Narada Muni that one should not be accepted as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra according to birth, for although this is going on now, it is not accepted by the Shastras. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnyang Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Thus, the four divisions of society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are to be ascertained according to qualities and activities. If one was born in a Brahmana family and has acquired the Brahminical qualifications, he is to be accepted as a Brahmana. Otherwise, he should be considered a Brahmabandhu. Similarly, if a Shudra acquires the qualities of a Brahmana, although he was born in a Shudra family, he is not a Shudra. Because he has developed the qualities of a Brahmana, he should be accepted as a Brahmana. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to develop these Brahminical qualities. Regardless of the community in which one was born, if one develops the qualities of a Brahmana, he should be accepted as a Brahmana. And he then may be offered the order of sannyas. Unless one is qualified in terms of the Brahminical symptoms, one cannot take sannyas. In designating a person, a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, birth is not the essential symptom. This understanding is very important. Herein, Narad Muni distinctly says that one may be accepted according to the caste of his birth if he has the corresponding qualifications, but otherwise he should not. One who has attained the qualifications of a Brahmana, regardless of where he was born, should be accepted as a Brahmana. Similarly, if one has developed the qualities of a Shudra or a Chandala, regardless of where he was born, he should be accepted in terms of those symptoms. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namashreshtham Manamapi Shatchiputra Matra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajamurupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tamnatosmi Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada, when giving Brahminical initiation, would often, either himself or through someone else, have the qualities of Brahmanas described, or would discuss the importance of Brahminical initiation. This is a verse that Srila Prabhupada quite often quotes. It's essential to the Krishna conscious movement in the Western world, inasmuch as Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish Varnashram society in the West, highly ambitious. Maybe it's even more ambitious than introducing the chanting of Hare Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna is relatively easy, but establishing human society in the Western world is highly ambitious. Mahatma Gandhi is quoted as having said, in reply to the question, "What do you think of Western civilization?" Because he was one of those few Indians who was fortunate enough to visit the West, this seat of actual civilization, this savage from India dressed in just a rag, So it was expected that when he was asked that question, he would faint in ecstasy, thinking of how wonderful Western civilization is compared to the barbarism that he'd grown up in India. So his reply was, "It sounds like it would be a good idea." Srila Prabhupada, did you get that? Looks like you all missed it. You're supposed to laugh. Ho, 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 ho. You have to have some commercial laughter here, canned laughter to get every... I also sometimes tell jokes. It's a Mahatma Gandhi joke, not my joke. Blame it on him. So it's a highly ambitious project to introduce Varnashram Dharma because Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish Krishna consciousness on a wide scale. It's very difficult to do if everyone's running around, as the saying goes, like a chicken with his head cut off. Maybe you haven't seen chickens with their heads cut off. Maybe you have. But they do run around flapping their wings for a short time before collapsing. So this analogy is appropriate because the Brahmanas are considered to be the head of society, and the Kshatriya, the arms, the Vaishya, the stomach, and Shudra, the legs. So without the head, society without a head means no brain. And that was the analogy that Srila Prabhupada applied to Western society, in particular, materialistic society in general, and the current Western society in particular. So it's very difficult to establish Krishna consciousness in a madhouse. And the whole world is a madhouse. Some sane, sober people are required. Please don't lean on the pillar in Krishna's temple. Sobriety is required even to understand the first teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumarang yovanang jara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatra namuhyati. The embodied spirit soul, the body in which he's embodied, passes from boyhood to youth to old age, and then the next change is attaining another body. A dhira, a sober person, is not bewildered in this matter. He's not bewildered. He knows what's going on. So that's the first teaching of Bhagavad Gita, without understanding which it's impossible to understand anything else about spiritual knowledge. And without being dhira, without being sober, one cannot understand this. That means if one is impelled by the lower modes of nature, you cannot understand spiritual teachings. And without understanding those spiritual teachings, one cannot be a Brahmana who is fit to guide society. So the Western civilization is much impelled by the lower modes of nature. It requires Brahmanas to give proper guidance, but that requires that Brahmanas, they have to be in the mode of goodness. So how is that going to happen? That people in the lower modes of nature can come to the higher level? Well, the Bhagavatam, by regularly hearing the Bhagavatam, then the various effects are there, including Stitam Sattve Prasidati. One becomes happily fixed in the mode of goodness. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti-yoga taha. By practicing Krishna consciousness, one can come to the level of happy mind in the mode of goodness, in Krishna consciousness. Of course, the mode of goodness is not all in all, but the sattvam sanjayate jnanam, from the mode of goodness, it is possible to develop spiritual knowledge. Otherwise, in the modes of passion and ignorance, one is always bewildered concerning the proper purpose of life. So Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, the Krishna conscious movement is meant to develop these Brahminical qualities which have been described above. It means this chapter is entitled The Perfect Society for Social Classes, and this verse is the last verse in this chapter. So this verse has described the qualities of the different classes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And this verse states that even though it's generally, the implication is that generally it's expected that someone born in a Brahmana family will develop the qualities of Brahmana. That was standard in the Varnashram society, stable society. In this stable society, then generally the children born in Brahmin families would they'd inherit that culture, and they would go on to be trained as Brahmanas, and similarly for Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. In the modern age, the whole society is so disordered and flexible, and there's so much freedom of choice, not good freedom. The freedom to be a demon is not a good freedom. That should not be allowed. But the Varnashram society continues generation after generation, so it's expected that someone born in a Brahmana family boy born in a Brahmana family will become a Brahmana, and one born in a Shudra family will be a Shudra. And even more specifically, there are different kinds of Brahmana families. There are, for instance, yajniks, those who specialize in performing yajnas, those who are archakas, those who specialize in deity worship. There are acharyas, those who specialize in being gurus. There are upadhyayas, those who specialize as teachers, and so on. And among Shudras, there are so many jatis or subcastes. For instance, blacksmiths and personal servants, and then water carriers, water collectors and water carriers before the days of piped water, tanners, well, that's lower, that's those who work with leather, and so on and so on and so on. So it is possible, according to this verse, that someone who's born in a Brahmana family works out practically as being something else. And someone who's born in a lower family ascends to a higher level. Now, generally in the rigid Varnashram system, the way it was practiced, it was not very common, but it was more common that someone would go from a higher level to a lower level. For instance, if a Brahmana once drinks alcohol in his life, he's out. He's not a Brahmana anymore, finished. So you can to go down is easy, but to come up, practically not allowed. There are cases in Shastra, and the whole Vajra Shuchika Upanishad describes cases of those who are born in a lower situation who have been accepted in a higher situation. But as classification by birth became prominent, then it became thought that only by birth one can be classified as a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. And then this became the Asuric Varnashram. So Srila Prabhupada had this highly ambitious project to establish a Brahmana class in the Western world to give guidance to society so that the society could become sane and ordered and suitable for everyone participating in that society to take to Krishna consciousness according to their level, and so that the whole society, everyone can cooperate to fulfill their material needs, just as in the body, the head, arms, stomach and legs cooperate. So in the social body, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras all cooperate for the overall good of the society. That's even materially speaking, and over and above that, spiritually speaking. Sve sve kamanya bhirata sangsiddhim labhate naraha. By following his own particular occupation and work, then everyone can attain the highest perfection. By swakarmana tam abhyacha siddhing vindati manavaha. By by performing his work and worshipping the Supreme Lord, everyone can attain perfection. So that was Srila Prabhupada's aim. It's not something he dreamed up. It's right here in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. But at the same time, it was, and to some extent tends to be, controversial among persons in India who think that one can only be a Brahman if one is born as a Brahmana. And not so long ago, it would have been considered impossible, just unimaginable, that outside of India, people are being initiated, people from Mleccha backgrounds are being initiated by someone else from a Mleccha background as a Brahmana. It's just meaningless. If anyone heard of it, they might think it's a pantomime or something like this. How can it actually be? It's not possible, because even that idea was there. If a Brahmana or anyone of any caste crosses the water, crosses the ocean, immediately loses his caste status. So it's impossible to have a Brahmana outside of India, according to that understanding. And even recently, that when the Madhva sannyasis, the sannyasi of the Madhva Sampradaya, started to go to the Western countries to preach to all the Madhva Brahmana boys who had gone there to use their good Brahmin brains to write software for companies, so to preach to them or to minister to them. Some of the Madhva sannyasis went overseas, and it was not at all appreciated when they came back. There was some idea, first of all, that they can't worship the deity anymore, and this and that. But gradually it's becoming accepted. So it might seem impossible, but it's also becoming accepted in India, and it's widely accepted that devotees from non-Indian backgrounds can be gurus of Indians. And although it does happen in ISKCON that sometimes the disciples in India of gurus with Indian bodies canvass for their guru, the non-initiates say, don't take initiation from him, he's a foreigner. Our guru is an Indian. With some idea that they should be better because you're an Indian. And there may be some truth in that also. No, I'm not saying there isn't, but it's widely accepted that persons from Western backgrounds can be Brahmanas and sannyasis and gurus, which was largely unthinkable before Srila Prabhupada went to the Western world. And it is widely accepted now in India, largely thanks to Srila Prabhupada's efforts in this regard, in his making Westerners into Brahmanas. It's largely accepted that one can be a real Brahmana is by quality and not by birth. That has come to, and people read Prabhupada's books also, they get this idea. Because they see also people of Brahmana families who are not living at all like Brahmanas. There are not that many who are living. Actually, if we take the percentage, there are not that many who are born in Brahmana families who actually live as Brahmanas in terms of their karma, in terms of their vritti. In terms of their karma means in terms of their activities and their means of livelihood. Now, they may not all be blamed for that because it's a long cumulative process. For instance, after India achieved political independence, then in many states the state governments took over the temples, important temples, confiscated the lands which were under the control of the Brahmanas, and gave the Brahmanas who are working in the temples simply a pittance as a salary. So even now, if someone works as or if they're literally they become a government employee, which is against the Brahminical principle anyway. But if they're a priest in a major temple in South India, they may get 40 rupees a month's salary, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's less than €1, and you can't even buy a kilo of dal for that. So then people have to do something. Then they have to get jobs outside. They can't go on being Brahmanas. So it's a long history, but all in all, we see Brahmanas that many of them are in politics and business, and many are employees in companies, or government employees, so they're not really living as Brahmanas at all. It's unfortunate, but it's a fact. So the Krishna conscious movement aims to make Brahmanas who can lead society out of its madness. The whole society is going completely on the wrong course. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to make devotees a new class of Brahmana. Brahmana means they should understand Shastra and be able to teach that and live according to Shastra. They should be very clean, very peaceful, and situated in all the qualities of Brahmana as given in Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere. Shamodama tapashocham kshantir arjavameva cha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. The Brahmanas, they're expected to be peaceful, self-controlled, austere, clean, tolerant, straightforward, non-duplicitous, knowledgeable of Shastra, and practical also in their application of the knowledge of Shastra. So it's a very high qualification. Devotees who are being initiated today, they should be aware that it's a very great responsibility, even more than accepting Harinam initiation, or what we call first initiation. Actually, in spiritual terms, the Harinam initiation is more important than the Brahminical initiation. Generally, within our ISKCON, we think that the Brahmana initiation, it's a higher level, but spiritually speaking, the Harinam initiation is higher, because a Brahmana it's a material designation, whereas Harinam is the spiritual activity. Often devotees, they want to have Brahminical initiation as a status symbol to show, yeah, I made it. I'm recognized. But if one wants to take Brahminical initiation for that reason, then he should go back to the Bhakta program, because the Bhakta program begins with Sarvopadi Vinir Muktam Tatparadvena Nirmalam Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. The bhakti, the devotional service that we're supposed to be doing, is supposed to be on the spiritual platform, which means free from mundane designations. If we think, I'm a Brahmana, I'm a Kshatriya, I'm a human, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a Croatian, or whatever. These are all mundane designations, which they are based on the misunderstanding at the very root of material life, which is the misunderstanding that I am this body. And with that misunderstanding comes the whole egoism of wanting to enjoy this material world. But in another sense, the Brahmana initiation is more significant in as much as that then one specifically has to represent to the public the Krishna conscious world. One is expected to be a spiritual leader. A spiritual leader, not necessarily in terms of organizational or social leadership. That's more the job of the Kshatriyas. But to set an example that others can look up to. So Brahmanas, then their behavior should be proper, and even to the extent that they like to dress as Brahmanas. Not that the Brahmana in shorts and a t-shirt. And then what is that? How are they being Brahminical? By adopting this dress, which is the dress that the demons liked when they're trying to enjoy themselves rather than working. So there are so many aspects to Brahminical life and so many things to be taught. Again, if one, just as initiation gives the idea of a beginning, so you could say someone is initiated as a Brahmana, but that is a beginning. This Brahminical initiation, it's a beginning. Any initiation is a beginning. From the consideration of the Brahmana, there is the understanding Janmana Jayate Shudra. Actually, by birth, everyone is a Shudra. Sanskara Bhavet Dvija. By a ceremony such as this, one can be called twice born. So this initiation, one becomes twice born. Or actually, in Krishna consciousness, one becomes thrice born, because trija, because the first birth is the physical birth from the womb of the mother. The second birth is being accepted in the sampradaya, so that's the Harinam initiation. That can be, and then the third birth is the when one is given mantra diksha, and that's Vaishnav initiation. So officially, this initiation, this is called diksha. One is initiated into spiritual knowledge. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Purva Papasya Sangshayam. What's the next line? Iti Diksheti. Iti Tat Proktas. What's the next line there now? I forgot that. That Diksha is the process by which one receives spiritual knowledge and one is freed from all sinful activities. So, this Brahminical initiation is a great responsibility to take the role of a leader, and it's not usually given along with Harinam initiation. Srila Prabhupada said that to give the Harinam initiation, it's giving a chance. Just, all right, come, chant. And, well, come and chant, that's open to everyone. But taking a Harinam initiation means a commitment. And then we have to see if people remain steady. Then they may be given this Brahminical initiation, to see if they've remained steady. As I was saying this morning, for many Indian people, it may not be very difficult to follow the four regulated principles. For Westerners, it's very difficult. But at the same time, we also find that because for Indians, it's already their culture, they may not be so excited about Krishna consciousness as the Western devotees are. We often see, this was especially true in the early days of the movement, when we saw that many Western devotees were very excited about Krishna consciousness, and their dedication astonished many Indian people who, for them, it might be something like the Christians going to the church in Croatia. That okay, yeah, all right, they go to the church every Sunday, and all right, they believe in God and believe in Jesus, believe in the Pope and all this kind of thing, but they're not as fervent as is noted by sociologists, that new converts to a religion are often more fervent and more rigid and more excited about the whole thing. So it's we often see that the Western devotees who take it up, they take it up with a lot of seriousness, but they may fall, they're more prone to fall down again because they have a very bad background. And if they get in Maya, then they can really have spectacular fall downs. Whereas for someone who's doesn't have a background of such sinful life, then they may not jump up so very high, but they may not fall down so very badly either. But a Brahmana means one who's steady. It's not expected that he'll fall down, even if he's coming from a very sinful background, as we all in the West are, with the exception of those who are raised in the families of devotees. So we all come from very sinful background, but those who are being offered Brahminical initiation, it's of course, again, it's a chance. It's always a chance that they may slip away, but it's seen that they're steady, they're committed. It's their life, and they're going to stick with it. So please stick with it. A few words about this verse. Yasya lakshanam proktam punsovana abhivyanjakam yadanyatrapi drisheta tattainaiva vinirdishet. This Srimad-Bhagavatam is mostly commented upon by Vaishnavas, and the first commentator on Bhagavatam is Sridhar Swami, who stresses in his commentary on this verse that quality is more important than birth. And the other commentators also echo that, which is the point that's being made in the verse itself. Vira Raghavacharya of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya strongly stresses this. And actually we find in the history of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya that it was flexible in this regard. In fact, even there's one of the Allavas, or the great early teachers of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya before Sri Ramanujacharya's glorious advent in this world, who was supposedly from a very low background. No, there's more than one, but they're accepted as great devotees despite their lower birth. But practically in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya at the present time, Brahmanism by caste, by birth, is accepted. There's no system within their Sampradaya at the present time to elevate anyone to the Brahminical status by the formal system of initiation. But most of the Sri Vaishnavas, who are very kind and welcoming and open to us who have, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, accepted the Gauriya Vaishnava line, they also accept that they accept us as Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. Even though within their own sampradaya they don't have such a system to purify people from a non-Brahminical background. And of course, ultimately, it doesn't matter which caste one is in. For the sake of worshipping Krishna, one may be in any caste. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he stresses in this regard the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 13, the well-known verse in which Krishna says, Charto varnyang maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. Krishna says that these 4 divisions are created by myself according to guna, quality, and work. He doesn't say birth. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that guna is more important than karma. This is a very important point. Qualities only develop over time for one who's undertaking the purifying process of Krishna consciousness, or the much slower purifying process and doesn't purify in the same way or to the same degree, the purifying process of varnashram dharma. But qualities tend to develop over time. Whereas anyone can accept the karma of a Brahmana, the activity. I mean, anyone can imitate or be initiated into chanting the Gayatri mantra 3 times a day. Anyone can do that. But we have to see the actual quality. Do people actually have the quality? And it may be that people are born in a Brahmana family and faithfully perform their Sandhya Vandana, which is rituals including Gayatri, performed 3 times a day. But then in their qualities, it's seen that they're lusty, proud, angry, and so on, which are not qualities which Brahmanas should have. So the guna is, that has to be seen. It's not simply accepting a thread. As Srila Prabhupada often said, that people in India, they often think that they're Brahmana just because they have a thread. And in Calcutta, up to the present day, there are rickshaw pullers who hand pull rickshaws. And many of them are, by caste, Brahmanas, Bihari Brahmanas. And they still consider themselves to be Brahman, although they're doing the work. It's the work of an animal, pulling a heavy load. That's the work of an animal, actually. The Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that one having Brahminical qualities can never be accused of attempting paradharma. So there's important terms in Bhagavad Gita and in the whole consideration of the Vedic Varnashram culture, swadharma, paradharma. Swadharma means one's own work, and paradharma means someone else's work. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna twice warns, Shreyasvadharma viguna paradharma bhayavaha. One should, it is better to perform one's own work than someone else's work. It's very dangerous to perform someone else's work. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out in this connection that someone who actually has Brahminical qualities, even if he's engaged in another kind of work, he's actually Brahmana by quality. So even if a person by quality is engaged in some work that is not Brahminical, he should still be considered Brahminical. And on that basis, any Vaishnava can be considered a Brahmana and more. Because a Vaishnava, the position of a Vaishnava is fully spiritual, whereas the position of a Brahmana is one who's engaged in religious activities and trying to become spiritual. So even if a Vaishnava is engaged as a taxi driver or rickshaw puller or whatever, he's in a better position than a Brahmana. However, for the matter of establishing Varnashram Dharma, persons who, even if they're Vaishnavas, then if they're engaged in activities that are not or work that is not the work of a Brahmana, then if we simply give everyone, designate everyone as a Brahmana, every Vaishnava, then a Varnashram can't be established. So those who are accepting Brahminical initiation, they should be fixed that they're going to live as a Brahmana by their activity also. So there are a few thoughts. These are all very big topics, and I won't elaborate on them more at this point.